For the next part of the series, I want to take a look at what character quests will look like. The first character to focus on will be Professor Sharp, the potions master at Hogwarts. He might seem a slightly unusual choice at first, given that he's not a main companion and not tied to any of the main story threads. However, I think he's a good introduction because he's so far removed from the player as opposed to covering another student first. Sharp doesn't have much to him past the very basic character traits that you could list out. He is a former Auror with a limp, the current potions master, and is the sort of no-nonsense professor. Sharp's questline will explore significantly more about his character, including his time at the Ministry, why he left, why he chose to teach at Hogwarts, etc. We want to explore multiple themes in this world through one character's story, as opposed to just learning about him. Sharp is probably one of the more interesting professors in the game, but that's not saying much. There are details to suggest that there's more beneath the surface, but then the game leaves it at that. He feels different enough from the other professors, but it's only in the most basic of senses. The professors largely are only memorable in concept, just present because they have to be there. In reality, these would be some of the most important people in these students' lives, given they live in the same castle as them for the large part of 7 years. Focusing on Sharp, he seems so natural to speak to the themes of our rewritten game. A man with a lasting injury, teaching a subject that requires patience, organization, and precision, speaks directly to the ideas of recklessness and overconfidence. Sharp was once one of the most promising young wizards of his generation. He was gifted, ambitious, and superbly capable for his age. Before he had graduated from Hogwarts, the Ministry had already taken an interest in him. He was quietly encouraged toward Auror work, and when he graduated, he entered the Ministry, quickly becoming one of its rising names. He would be paired with a partner, an older Auror who was perhaps the complete opposite of him. This partner was calm, experienced, cautious, and difficult to impress. He survived for many years in a profession where many die young. Sharp had this partner chosen because the two balanced each other out, and that made them extremely effective as a pair. The young prodigy and the old veteran became a successful duo, earning them a reputation. Their final case involved an illegal stimulant potion. While mainly used in combat scenarios, it began to spread to other criminals, workers, students, etc. Sharp and his partner would pursue the case for months, tracking lead after lead, and with each failed lead, it meant that more people could be hurt. When they finally obtained a serious opportunity to act, Sharp needed to end things before it reached more people. While his partner urged caution, wanting to ensure they were prepared to end everything in one fell swoop, Sharp refused to wait, not wanting to risk more potential victims to prevent further harm. The mission went about as bad as it could, and Sharp's partner died because of it. Sharp survived, but he is left with his limp. Sharp had not acted because he wanted glory, but because he was overconfident and wanted to stop suffering. At the end, someone else paid the ultimate price for his mistake. In the aftermath, Sharp left the Ministry. A desk position was offered to him, but he could not accept that life. Sharp actively seeks out a position at Hogwarts, and the opportunity of Potions Master comes calling. He eagerly accepts it, seeing it as an opportunity for prevention. Sharp is not strict because he enjoys frightening students or because he hates his job, but because he has personal experience with disregarding preparation and knows that good intentions do not matter after the damage has already been done. He is demanding, blunt, and often intimidating, but never anything approaching abusive. There are students around the castle that complain about him, saying that he is unfair, impossible to impress, that he focuses on the smallest of mistakes, etc. Potions may not be flashy in the same way that wand work is, and that is important. While casting a spell may give immediate satisfaction, potions is not the same. Patience, preparation, precision, and restraint are necessary, and to Sharp, that is not just academic discipline. Sharp's lessons are controlled, precise, and tense, perhaps the opposite of someone like Professor Ronan. Sharp does not waste words or flatter students. He expects them to know what they are brewing, why each ingredient matters, and all the consequences that could occur. Conversely, for those that excel, Sharp notices them as well. Students that perform well will earn his close attention, as he gives them harder work, has higher expectations, and trusts them more. In this way, he's a little like Professor Slughorn. He recognizes exceptional students, but his motivation is entirely different. Slughorn gathers them for status, influence, social advantage, etc., while Sharp is very different. Character quests have to be started in a natural way. We don't want the player to just unlock them all in a long list all at once, and Sharp's is no exception. As hinted above, there will be two different ways that this quest can begin, depending on how the player has approached potions. The first scenario is one in which the player is doing well in the class. They attend regularly, earn strong marks, complete their brewing minigames, answer questions successfully, treat the class seriously, etc. One day, Sharp calls the protagonist aside, believing that they have real potential. He tests them in some way, whether it be a more difficult brewing assignment, asking them to prepare some ingredients in a more advanced way, testing if their understanding goes deeper than simply following directions, etc. The second version begins in almost the exact opposite way. In this scenario, the protagonist is skipping classes, earning poor marks, failing brewing tasks, not treating the subject seriously, etc. One day, Sharp calls him out directly, assigns remedial work, or something else that achieves a similar effect. The player has not impressed him, rather, he is quite irritated. In Sharp's experience, carelessness is only harmless until the moment it is not. I think having the quest begin in one of two different and quite opposite ways helps to make the world feel more reactive. There don't have to be huge differences, but a change in the tone for the first rank or two should go a long way. Now, we move on to the character quest itself. For each character quest, there will be 6 ranks or missions that comprise the quest. Rank 1 was mentioned earlier, started in one of the two ways. For either reason, Sharp has taken a concern with the protagonist and wants to ensure they understand and can handle the seriousness of the real world, using potions as his method of teaching. Rank 2 follows on with a continuation of the path the player started on, either a more advanced brewing or a remedial one. Sharp's philosophy, not his reasoning for it, is put on full display here. His distaste for a lack of caution or indifference is shown. Rank 3 is where we see a shift in the relationship, and the two paths mostly converge. The protagonist, perhaps motivated by a personal curiosity, or simply what they've heard around the castle, asks Sharp about his teaching methods and reasoning. Sharp reveals little, only that he was once an Auror with a partner, and that Sharp's career and injury were not some strange accident. The story may be framed as a broad lesson for the protagonist, but it should be clear that Sharp speaks from an old wound, not yet healed. Rank 4 is the low point of the quest. Murmurs are heard across Hogsmeade that there is some weaker variant of an old illegal stimulant. After hearing about it around the castle, Sharp orders the player to stay away from the matter, and that he will make sure it is dealt with. He's colder, more controlling, more secretive, and we see this play out in normal classes, where he becomes much harsher. A similar scenario turned out to be the worst moment of his life, and so he wants to ensure that no one else is pulled into it. Rank 5 is where Sharp tells the truth. He explains the old case and every point in which he failed, which should explain to the player the majority of his character. This is the emotional center of the quest. His strictness is over the guilt he feels and the personal control he feels he must seize in aiding as many future generations of students as he can. Rank 6 is a combination of the internal and external conflicts. Sharp requires the protagonist's aid in solving the issue, given they are a student and they draw less attention to themselves, especially in Hogsmeade. The more information they have, the better prepared they can be to counter everything they need to. This caution, preparedness, and discipline is what allows the situation to resolve itself successfully, and it shows Sharp that his teaching matters and that he can help others succeed where he once failed. After everything is finished, Sharp admits the final truth. His limp may not be incurable as he portrays it. There may be some treatment, or at the very least a way to improve it. He allows the public assumption that it cannot be healed, but privately he has known for some time, but has allowed the injury to become part of his punishment. The limp is proof that he remembers, and the lesson has not faded. The protagonist challenges him on this. Forgetting is not the answer, but suffering and pain does not make him a better professor, as shown by how the player has learned from him. Sharp will not suddenly be cheerful or emotionally cured, but if the protagonist has earned his trust, received good marks in the class, and has chosen the right dialogue options, there will be a small shift. On the final day of school, the player will be able to walk around for as much time as they want, saying goodbye to everyone they wish to. Perhaps the player stops by the potions classroom to say goodbye. Professor Sharp is there, as usual, surrounded by papers, ingredients, and half-finished notes. It may seem ordinary work on the surface, but given the player has fulfilled the requirements mentioned above, they may notice something else. A letter from a renowned healer, reference to St. Mungo's, a list of rare ingredients, previous notes, or something else entirely. Sharp doesn't explain himself, he doesn't have to. If the protagonist asks, he might say that he's just reviewing, or say that a responsible and cautious potioneer must always reassess all the conclusions. It's understated, that's who he is, but the meaning is clear. At the very least, he is looking into it. If the player has not earned his trust, if they have not fulfilled the requirements for this ending, then this scene will not happen. The player can say farewell to Sharp on the last day, but this specific scene will not play out. The goal of the character quests, specifically those for the professors, should take these background characters and fit them into the larger themes and mechanics of the game. The foundation of Sharp should be the same. Most of the broad strokes of his story were taken from what we currently know about him, but expanded and presented in a way so that a significantly greater number of players will experience it. Not all character quests will be like this, given that some will be students and some will feature characters who don't currently attend Hogwarts, but I felt this was a good starting off point to introduce the structure, along with a character that most players already have positive feelings about. Ultimately, for the larger themes of the game, Sharp is someone who experienced something akin to what Sebastian and the protagonist go through in the present day. He should be an example that the desire to do good can still lead to harm, given that it moves faster than proper judgment.